Hi, I'm Stefan and welcome to my online workshop. Today I'm going to show you the basics of Kumiko, the Asanoha pattern with the matching frame. We will make the first pieces together. I'm giving you important tips for beginners and showing you what is important. Let's get started and talk about the question of what is needed. If you have the set from my store, everything is already included. Otherwise, you need a few Kumiko strips or the prefabricated kit, which has the notches and cut parts. You also need a chisel with a wide cutting edge, the three adjustable blocks, 36.5 degrees, 22.5 degrees, and 45 degrees. Whereby we need a 67.5 twice, which is why an angle is incorporated on the back of the 45 angle. A clean carpet pad. Optionally, you need a saw and wood glue. More on this later. Let's start with the grid. You can easily put the individual parts together crosswise by placing the notches on top of each other. Normally it should fit together without force. Otherwise, there's a risk that the thin bar of the top will break. Make sure that the top surface, which is your visible surface, is flush and mark the top with a piece of tape or pencil. In case you want to saw off the ends later, I recommend that you apply glue to the outermost intersections. Otherwise, the joint will come loose. Use a small amount of glue and make sure that no glue runs out of the corners. This is relevant if you want to insert a grid into a frame later. Now we come to the many individual pieces. There is a sequence to follow so that there are no gaps. Start with a diagonal piece that divides the square into two triangles. Mark the length on the oversize and cut as many diagonals as necessary with the saw. All the parts are cut to size in the starter set, so this step is not necessary. The Asanoha pattern has four such diagonals, which later form an X. As the diagonal piece should fit into the 90-degree angle of the square, the ends must be beveled to 45 degrees. These miters are cut with a chisel and with the help of a block, which guides the chisel at an angle of 45 degrees. It is better to remove less material at a time, in example piece by piece, and make sure that the chisel is in full contact with the support surface of the block, especially when you make the last cut of each. The angles will be exact. This is important so there are no gaps and everything fits. First, finish one end with the 45-degree angles. Place the diagonal in the groove and align it parallel to the edge. Please make sure that only enough material is removed to create a point. Otherwise, it should be too short later. Now push the stop block against your piece, then tighten the screw. A tip, don't over tighten the screw, otherwise the washer will leave in the tensions. And don't worry, nothing will shift. Once you have finished the first side, try it on your grill and mark the lengths with a pencil. Then take your piece back again on the block. The pointed end should point towards the stop block and your pencil line in front. Use your marking as a guide and slowly feel your way around. The pencil line should only be used as a guide here. A constant check of the fit is the correct procedure. We check the fit of the diagonals by inserting them into the square. The fit should be tight without too much pressure, but don't wobble around either. You will probably have to shorten the diagonal, place a piece into the groove and leave a little space to the stop block. Then loosen the screw and adjust the stop until it is flush. Cut both miters at one end of the diagonal and if necessary repeat the step until it fits. If the diagonal is too short, an example is it too loose and falls out of the square, throw it away, adjust the fence backwards and start again at smaller intervals. Fortunately, you only have to carry out the adjustment procedure at once. You will always cut all other pieces to the same size with a perfect adjustment. An important tip at this point: the squares should not be distorted in shape. Otherwise, despite four identical diagonals, it can happen that one piece is loose later on. Unfortunately, it becomes a parallelogram and a big problem. This happens when a diagonal piece that is too long is inserted. Once you have finished this, we come to the hinge piece. It is tricky to make this piece because the two miters at one end do not meet in the middle of the thickness, like the two 45. Instead, the two 67.5 miters divides the thickness of the hinge piece in a ratio of 1 to 2. To cut the two miters, you should use two 67.5 blocks. Set a fence so that you cut a single miter through the entire piece. The piece should look like a chisel after the cut. Then set a fence on a second block so that the miter is cut across 1/3 of the thickness of the piece. If both steps are correctly setted, cut the miters on all hinge pieces in this way. Once the 67.5 miters have been cut, it is time for the other end. Roughly adjust the stop block on the 22.5 block and cut 2 miters. Repeat the process on a second hinge piece. You will need two pieces to find out when the hinge piece is the right length. And here should be set again. With such a flat angle of 22.5, it is very important to cut off a little material at a time. This is what a good fit looks like. Place the two hinge pieces into the grid, so that a 1/3 miters touch and a V is formed between the two third miters. Look at the other end of the hinge piece, where it meets the 45 corner. Is there a gap? If the gaps are on the same side as the diagonal, the hinge pieces are too long. If the gaps are on the other side of the hinge pieces, they are too short. If there are no gaps in the corner, but the hinge pieces do not touch in the middle, they are also too short. The closing piece holds everything in shape without glue and is a shorter version of the diagonal. So you can make it just like the diagonal. In this step, the chisel is near your fingers, so please be careful to not hurt yourself. Now check the closing piece fit into the gap without pressure. It should not be loose, otherwise it will not hold the hinge piece in place. Too tight is also a problem. If everything fits on a test piece and a stop lock is set correctly, the remaining pieces are cut to size. There are 8 pieces in total, although some may still need to be adjusted in exceptional cases. Here you can see how exact the past individual parts were manufactured. Another factor is wood as a natural raw material. It is not always perfect, like other materials. You should really take your time here and adjust everything perfectly. Almost done, just put everything together and enjoy your work. That's it for today. Take a look at my Instagram channel. And if you have any questions or requests, feel free to contact me. I wish you a lot of fun, good luck, and a nice day.